Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Back at you with another boxing review. This Saturday, 1st of June, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, you have the 5v5 Matchroom v Queensbury. And there are a number of important fights taking place. Yes, there is 5v5, so there will be Ball v Ford and Hutchinson versus Richards. But we're not going to focus on those fights right here and right now. What we want to talk about is touch on Bivol, because Bivol was supposed to be fighting Arthur Beterbiev for the undisputed light heavyweight title. However, Beterbiev is injured. And so there's been a late replacement with Zinad, a local from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, not a world-renowned operator in Zinad, but he's a local, he's a last-minute replacement. So I think that should be more of a workout for Bivol. Bivol is the guy that that beat Canelo. So yeah, so Bivol, it should be a kind of like what they call a routine kind of defense. But anything can happen in a fight, and he will be best served to be aware and alert, because this guy Zinad isn't known, and you don't know anything come with a clash of heads or low. We don't know how it's going to work out. So he'd be well advised to take it serious, which I anticipate he will be, because he seems to be the consummate professional and athlete. So yeah, so that should be one of the more significant fights, because he's one of the more known on the card. Then you have the heavyweight match between Filip Hrgovic and Daniel Dubois. Unbeaten in Hrgovic, known operator, been in the #1 spot on the IBF for some time, and questions around, did he lose to Zhang in their match? He won on points, but there's a bit of a asterisk there, as if he was really gifted that decision. But he had experienced a loss of his father. So people say maybe the poor performance that night was also related to what he was going through on a personal level. We're all human beings, so that is possible. But that fight between him and Dubois should be a really good fight, because the winner will go on to either fight for the world title against the undisputed heavyweight champion at some point, or the heavyweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion, Oleksandr Usyk, will have to relinquish his belt, and the winner may end up fighting AJ for that vacant IBF title. So there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for the winner of that fight. So I expect that fight to be quite competitive. Daniel Dubois, 26 years old, 2 losses, lost to Joe Joyce some time ago, and was able to put a few important victories together, and was given a title shot against Oleksandr Usyk and lost. There were question marks against Dubois, because he seemed to quit against Joe Joyce after a stiff jab to the eye. He took a knee, but they say that he did damage his orbital bone in that fight. It was proven medically that he damaged his eye quite severely. But boxing fans can be sometimes merciless. So there was like questions: is he really built like that? It was not the fact that he got beaten, but the fashion in which he seemed to acquiesce, that left question marks. And then he had that fight against Oleksandr Usyk, landed a borderline shot on the waistline. Was it low or not a low blow? It was deemed low by the ref. Oleksandr Usyk was able to, or was given permission to take 5 minutes recovery, took a good portion of recovery time, got back up, and was able to stick it on Daniel Dubois, schooled him, and a stiff southpaw jab knocked him to the floor, and he seemed to semi-voluntarily take a knee against it. There was this question mark around this guy's heart, right? Boxing is 80% of it is a mental thing. It's about mental preparation. It's about mental rigor. It's about mental preparedness, right, and readiness for conflict and for adversity. And some people will say, maybe this kid isn't really built like that. He's only 26, but he's not really cut from that cloth. However, he had a fight with Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller, for those of you who may remember, was a gentleman that was supposed to fight against Anthony Joshua in his first US debut. Madison Square Gardens, but Big Baby Miller was caught with the amount of PED, performance enhancing drugs in his system that could have enhanced the mule. They say that he was full of the stuff. And so for that reason, he was suspended and they brought in the late last minute replacement, what's his name? Andy Ruiz, who upset AJ all those years ago. So that's the backstory there. So anyway, I think it was December, Dubois, just December gone, had a 10 rounder against Big Baby Miller, who weighs something like 320 pounds. So I think Dubois was giving away about 100 pounds in weight. I mean, the guy's an absolute mammoth of a man. And it was quite a savage, vicious affair. It wasn't the technical spectacle that you would expect to see or world class because of tactics, but it was just a punch up, an old fashioned bruiser. But none of the boys came through what they called a gut check. There was a lot of questions asked of him in the fight, figuratively speaking, in the sense that Big Baby Miller just wouldn't take no for an answer and kept walking towards him, pressuring him and pressing him. But Dubois was able to take him into deep waters into the 10th round, exhaust him, and actually batter him to a finish. Even the fact that he was ahead on points and he could have just stayed away, but he wanted to close the show, and he closed the show in the late part of the last round. So people have said, yeah, he gets his criticism when he looks, there was questions asked, but there was questions asked that night, and he passed that exam with flying colors. So we anticipate the fight between Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgovic for that reason to be quite competitively contested, because the winner stands to receive a massive opportunity at one, becoming world champion, and two, to make some good bread. And at the end of the day, these are prize fighters, and there's a big prize at the end of the rainbow. So expect those two to go at it. Very hard to pick a winner. Then you've got topping the bill, Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. Zhang is a man that can bang, but also Deontay Wilder is known as a one-punch specialist. So this should be an interesting fight. They both lost to Joseph Parker, who, if you remember, was like food for AJ. AJ took away his WBO belt all those years back when AJ was a phenom and was champion, a unified champion. That was one of the belts that he scooped up along the way. It was from Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker beat both these guys in their last fights, respectively. And so there's a lot being judged off what they have left. One's 38, Wilder's 38, Yang is 40. Zhang, should I say, excuse me, is 40. I would anticipate that Zhang will be dangerous early. They're both dangerous, but Zhang will be dangerous early in the sense that expect him to start lively, expect him to start pronto. I mean, that's how he's been in his last few fights. Even the one he lost against Parker, he did start early and was sticking it on Parker and was getting his shots off, and even dropped him relatively early in the fight. So expect that. And he's the one that knocked out Joe Joyce twice, stopped Joe Joyce on bruising his eye and damaging his eye in their first fight. And in the rematch, he chinned him. So Zhang will start fast. We can anticipate that. Wilder looked a bit gun shy and a bit like he didn't really want to be there in his last fight. He looked like a warrior with peace on his mind, if I can put it that way. They say he took ayahuasca some years ago and he's changed. Before he used to be shouting bomb squad, he used to be very brash and, to this day, these type of, these memes and, wow, he was a one-liner and he had his phrases and stuff like that. But he went away, man, and he's come back very different. But he must know this is his last waltz saloon at any kind of big payday. So he's seen fight training footage, he's been putting in the work, and he and his trainer Malik Scott have been talking wicked, as we like to say. They're going to be vicious, they're going to be violent, they use all these kind of descriptors. So this, we'll have to see. Is it a case of this guy is really back and he's going to do something special in the ring? And he knows that there's a big opportunity at his age. There's not going to be too many left, but there's a big opportunity because he's a name, he's a brand, he's a former champion, that he could be called back in to fight one of the big boys for big money in a massive bonanza. That's always possible. That's just a few punches away, right? Or is he going to fight a stinker and admit to himself, you know what? There's nothing left in the tank. I went to the bottom of the well, and the well was dry. And so he just takes his check, because I'm sure he's getting paid handily, and he'll sail off into the sunset. We'll have to see. But one thing I can guarantee you, that it's going to be an interesting card. I say for the top fight with Zhang and Wilder, I would say Zhang's going to be early, dangerous early, because he does start very sharp and very efficiently, and gets into the fight. And I anticipate that he will give Wilder some scares. If he's able to land and get him out of there, then I think Zhang will, that will speak for itself. That's his route to victory. But he tires really badly. People say he needs to work on his cardio, but I don't know how much you work on your cardio when you're 40 years old and you're 19 stones. It's not too much work. It is what it is, what it is. So I think he's got to go for it early and get his man out of there. Deontay Wilder is quite an athlete, if not in a sense of coordination and boxing technique and skill, but just as a physical specimen, he'll be able to fight hard for 12 rounds. So if he can stay out of trouble in the early part, if he's not able to land any of his bombs in the early part, and he just sees his way to being safe after about 5-6 rounds, if Zhang hasn't got him out of there or done any serious damage, I say Deontay Wilder has a perfect opportunity of putting him to sleep, or to drilling him into a early retirement for the night. So yeah, look out for that to be the dangerous fight, because that's the one with the two supremely big two big punches. So yeah, we'll have to see. We will have to see. But thanks for staying with us for the duration, and we'll catch you soon. But remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon wherever it's on the left or the right. But yeah, till next time, peace.